In this video I'm moving our 355-inch LG OLED screens and sim racing live stream setup from its bright above ground location in our sitting room to a new, darker, more sinister underground bunker location. Then I'm going to give you a tour of our setup and how I do all our live streams and video recording with the sim rig. Fasten your seatbelts and let's smash some OLED monitors. If you enjoy our content and want to support the channel, make sure to use the Gamer Muscle Fanatec affiliate link located under the video when buying fancy pants sim racing equipment from the Fanatec store.
The bag got caught in it. Not like this. Yes! Why is it so heavy?
The move to the bunker has been completed and I thought I'd give you guys a quick tour of the rig setup that we're currently using for a lot of our videos and live streaming. I'll go through the equipment, why I use the equipment I use, and I'll also explain our solution I use for filming the live stream content. It's a sort of behind the scenes video, this one. So as you can see, this is the SimLab P1X cockpit, which is our base cockpit here, and it's absolutely fantastic. Obviously it's a T-slot cockpit. You know that I'm a huge fan of T-slot. Basically you can just keep adding things to T-slot and you can adjust it and you can do whatever you want with it. Absolutely glorious. Now on the P1X I have added a side part to the cockpit that has allowed me to add my force feedback joystick, the Brunner CSL force feedback joystick, which has a HOTAS Warthog stick on top of it. That's obviously from the Thrustmaster HOTAS Warthog, which we've got the actual thruster there. And And this allows us to get force feedback in flight sims like Microsoft Flight Sim, DCS, X-Plane 11. Absolutely fantastic. And we've also added a tray to the back to put our mice on here. Now you notice there's two mice there. That's because I have one mouse to control the main PC that we're actually playing the Sims on, and another mouse that controls a secondary PC, which is hidden away down there. It goes onto that monitor, which actually does the live stream encoding and also displays OBS whilst we're live, so I can see what's going on and if things have inevitably broken, which they probably have if you know our live streams. Now on the rig here we have a keyboard, a tray with a keyboard on it. This keyboard is a Red Dragon keyboard. Never buy one of them, they're absolutely terrible. Cherry red keys, so kind of pointless as mechanical keys, but I quite like cherry red because I'm a weirdo. I got this keyboard originally because you can supposedly connect to multiple computers. You just push a button and it changes a Bluetooth device. Now it doesn't quite work that seamlessly, so now I just use this to control the main computer, and I actually just use a mini keyboard to control the streaming PC if I need to actually type, because I don't really type that much. Just having a mouse connected to the streaming PC works really well. So we've also got the LED display on there, the 3D Sim Gear LED display. Really nice, displays the gear brightly, the flags. You know how that works, we've got a video for that. We have the Husingveld Ultimates down here, which are fantastic. Absolutely amazing pedals, been using these for a while. Long overdue a review of them. It will come soon. Sorry, Husingveld, I basically stole their pedals and haven't reviewed them. I deserve to go into the gulag for that. But they're amazing pedals, I highly recommend them. Though I did take the damper off the throttle because I didn't like how that felt. It actually feels more like a real car pedal with the damper on the throttle, but I'm sim racing, I'm not driving a real car. I prefer like the just raw precision without the damper on it. Kept the damper on the brake and the clutch though. What else do we have? We have the Fanatec podium here with the Formula rim on it. Absolutely awesome piece of equipment. Allows us to play console games as well as PC simulators, which is really nice. You don't have to like swap things over too much if that's what you're doing. We also have the SimLab LED display on top, which connects to SimHub along with that LED light, and then that's a dash. At the moment it's just displaying PC temperatures and what's going on with the computer, but when you go into the sim it instantly and automatically loads the dash for the car that you're driving. I use a basic dash that works really well for all cars. We have a Stream Deck here, which is what I use to control all the scenes and stuff whilst we're live streaming. When we go live, you just push the button, and this is actually plugged into the streaming PC, not my main gaming PC. It also lets me control all the graphics, sound effects. Absolutely awesome. I actually have a large Stream Deck, but I prefer generally using the small Stream Deck and then using folders to navigate through to different options. And actually, rather than folders, I like to use this scene button where you just go left and right. If you're using a Stream Deck, maybe as a button box, rather than using folders, you put a button there which lets you scroll through it sideways as if you had a bigger screen, if that makes sense. I find that works better than the folders. But the Stream Deck's absolutely amazing. As you can see, I've really used the colour display there to its full capacity. I don't know, it's fun for me. I tend to memorise where the location of things is rather than the actual icons. What else do we have? We have a Derek Spears Design button box. It's a bit weared and teared, this, and it's a little bit chonky. I've used this, it's awesome, works great. I've used it for years. But I think I might actually replace this with a smaller one. I know Derek Spears has a smaller button box in development. That looks awesome. But yeah, I think I might swap it for something smaller because it's a bit too chonkus for me. I found in the past actually, great place to put a button box is by the side of your chair. If you've got space, if you're not crazy like me with stuff everywhere on your rig, actually putting a button box to the side of your seat is a great location for it. So yeah, but we're using that. That controls all. That's additional buttons for the sim. You know, I use this for pit limiter, brake bars forwards, brake bars backwards. And I will say actually, I find binding buttons on the button box rather than on the steering wheel, especially if you jump from sim to sim, car to car, having certain things on the button box, which is always the same, can be a little bit quicker, a little bit easier than having to bind every single wheel. Some sims allow you to bind wheels per car, some sims don't. So a button box with everything always the same in every single sim with loads of buttons is really convenient, even if you have a rim with a lot of buttons like this nice Fanatec Formula rim. Down here we have the Stream Deck. No, we don't. The Go XLR. Words, I don't know how they work. This is the full Go XLR, which allows you to use an XLR mic whilst live streaming. Ironically, I don't use it with an XLR mic because I don't know, I don't use things as they're meant to be used because I'm just a bit of a weirdo. I use it with a Mod Mic 5 on my Sennheiser headphones, and that plugs in there. But the point is, you've got a nice amp in here if you do use a XLR microphone, like a proper condenser microphone with phantom power. For those of you that don't know, some microphones you have a specific amount of voltage. I think it's 14 volts is phantom power. There's two amounts of phantom power. It's pointlessly confusing. Don't know what it is with technology like that. We've just got to make everything annoying. Probably because it's from like the 1800s, but you can use this with a condenser microphone and it will drive it and everything. That's all you need to know. I use it with the Mod Mic. The advantage is though, you still get all the awesome EQ options with the Go XLR, so you can make your voice sound not too squeaky and not too annoying, which helps for me because I actually have a very annoying voice. I try and hide that as much as possible. Also, the cool thing with this is, you know, all these sliders are motorized, so you can mute stuff and have it go back to the previous position that was your optimal audio position, which is really cool. And whilst you're live streaming, you could just, I can set this to be iRacing's voice chat, the salter meter. So if I want a nice pleasant race without people screaming at me, I can just turn that down, or I can gradually increase the salt to full salt, and then I'm ready for my fish and chips. So that's really nice. And you've got effects on here, so you can just push the effect button and that will, I can do echo or robot voice or just really annoying stuff that generally makes a live stream worse, but I find entertaining, so deal with it. Got reverb here, pitch changing, gender. This is very modern, this. You can just change your gender by rotating a knob, ironically. So yeah, that's nice. We've got echo, and you can set profiles here, so you can save all these effects to a specific thing if you want to. You can also record voice clips and then play them back. So you can hold it down to record a voice clip and then play it back. I never use that. There's also a beep button for when you swear or cough or whatever. And that's for when you cough, it'll mute it. And that's a beep for when you swear. But I'm really polite and I never swear, so I don't need to use that. That's the Go XLR, absolutely awesome. That also, what's really good with the Go XLR, which is what I should have said first, is that it also plugs directly into the streaming PC, which says hidden down here. So that allows me to, it's plugged into the main PC, the main streaming PC, but also goes to the actual streaming PC as a single output. So you can control everything on your 5 channels of audio on your main PC, goes all into a single channel on the streaming PC, and you can mix everything down. It's really great. If you've got a dual PC streaming solution, Go XLR is fantastic. This has just turned into a huge Go XLR advert, basically. I do have the mini Go XLR, and I wouldn't recommend it for live streamers particularly. I would recommend the Go XLR Mini if you just wanted a nice audio controller and a headphone amp, though the headphone amp quality, in my opinion, isn't that good and you can get cheaper solutions. Right, what else do we have on this rig? It's like, how many viewers died of old age watching this? All of them. Here we have the most expensive USB hub known to man, the Orico 12-port individual buttoned USB hub. Absolutely gorgeous. Aluminum. It's even got a window on it. This is like the ultimate. This is what I sim race for, to be honest. Pure USB heaven. Each USB has a button on it. So, for example, if I'm playing flight sim and I don't want my wheel to be detected or something else on my sim rig to not be detected, you can just obviously turn it off by pushing the button. So having a USB hub with individual buttons for each port is great if you have a sim rig with a lot of things on it. Highly recommend that. What else is going on here? So we have, of course, a lot of LED lights in here, and that's how I get the illumination such that we can record. So I use, well, that one's turned off. There's one down there, but it's turned off. I have two 40 watt LEDs behind this monitor, and they reflect off the ceiling. I've got another 40 watt LED over there, and there's one behind me. And the point of this is that if you have a key light above the rig pointing at you, whilst you're sim racing and concentrating on driving, if you do long live streams, I find it can be really quite uncomfortable having a very bright key light, especially if the rest of the room's dark. If you're in like a bright environment, you've got a key light, it's fine. But if you're in a studio type setting, it's very uncomfortable, especially if you're trying to concentrate on not crashing into people whilst reading a chat room, everything else. So by having the 40 watt LED lights, 4 in total, I guess, or two behind that are used for the daylight colour, daylight yellow, warm yellow, I guess the colour is. I don't know what Kelvin value that is, but having 2 of them and then having them reflect off the ceiling lights me up quite nicely, and it's very comfortable. And they're also they're just controlled with a little remote, so I can turn them on and off when I'm not streaming, and I can adjust the colour a little bit. Really good way of lighting. I found using those LED lights for me has been a very good cost-effective way of lighting stuff nicely. Now you'll notice we have, actually before we go to the camera, you'll notice we have this little monitor here. This is used for me to read my live stream chat, and it's a separate monitor. This is plugged directly into the streaming PC. So it's totally separate from the actual gaming PC. Sometimes when you use stream chats, although Chatterino's all right, but some stream chats, if I live stream on YouTube, or if I'm using a YouTube chat, or any other app, some of them, when the text comes up through it, or there's a lot of chat activity, some of them can slow down your PC or cause weird stutter sometimes. So by having this on a complete separate 7-inch, is that 7-inch, 8-inch? I don't know. On a small monitor, it means that my PC is not affected at all by chat, and it's always the same as well. So this is a really nice thing. If you do a lot of live streaming, you want things to be able to be turn on and go, basically. You always want it to be the same without fiddling. Because even if it's like a 2-minute fiddle, that's what she said, if you have to do that every day, it gets very tiresome very quickly. So getting that fiddle time down by having this little monitor which has got the chat room, it loads up, that PC boots up, the stream PC boots up, it's got the chat on it, it's absolutely fantastic. And oh yeah, because I have to set the scale of the text chat as well, so it's big enough for me able to be read from the sim rig. So if I had that on the main gaming PC, if I was to then load up a browser, the browsers might be the wrong size. Basically having it as a separate thing is really handy. Also, that little monitor is plugged in, it's USB powered, and is plugged into, it's a mini HDMI, but it's just plugged into a power socket down here which has 2 USB outs on it. So it's nice and low powered, and it does the job. It's really nice actually. Worth saying as well, I also have this sheet down here. I'm going to replace this with some Correx, I think, which is just like corrugated plastic. At the moment it's actually a green screen that's covered in a black material. That is such that when the camera that's filming the monitors is actually zoomed in on the monitors, with the brightness and contrast that it's on, so it'll be something like this, it blocks out the light leaking from the sides. So that's a nice little touch, and obviously highly professional way of doing things. So moving on from those rig specifics onto the actual camera solution. So up there is my face camera, which is a Sony a6000. Really nice camera for using as a webcam. That's plugged into the Stream PC again as a through a HDMI cable using a cam link. Well, one of them is plugged in through a cam link and one of them is plugged into a capture card. The cam link 4K is really good though. Generally works better than a capture card. Smaller, or it's cheaper as well than a capture card. But so that plugs into the Stream PC. I've got the kit lens on here. We've just replaced it actually. I did have a wide angle lens on it, but I've just replaced it for a kit lens. One thing we're saying, A6000, you know, obviously it's not cheap, but I use these every single day. And it's actually relatively affordable relative to the quality you get from it. There's probably some slightly cheaper options, but it is worth saying the A6000 is better than the A5000 series. I don't know about the A5300 or whatever the next 5000 series are, but the cheaper A5000 you can sometimes get for an absolute bargain, which would be perfect. They have some like face filtering on them that can sometimes be hard to turn off, especially if you just leave your cameras on all the time and you don't want to fiddle with it at all. So the A6000 is absolutely phenomenal for what I use it for. So that's the face camera. Oh, it's also on an arm that's attached to the back of this monitor here, which allows me to then tilt it into exactly the right position and move it forwards a bit. Really nice. Highly recommend. It's not a small rig arm, it's a slightly bigger one. You can get them for like between 20 and 50 pounds. A lot of them are used for like clamping to tables if you want to film downwards, but they're really quite handy actually for a lot of things. And small rig as well. Really great, do little clips and clamps for camera stuff. I'm just using them all the time. So that is the face camera and that part of the setup. We also have this camera here, which its prime point in its life, its sole purpose of existence is to hold stuffed fish. But it's also occasionally used to do the wide shot of the rig. So this is also plugged into the streaming PC via a USB extension cable, just goes through here, down there into the streaming PC. And we use a scene switcher for the face cam in OBS to have this switch automatically, and it just shows a wider shot of the rig from this position. I don't think this camera really will do it justice, but it gives a nice sort of, you know, every now and again, not that often, oh, there's an idiot in a giant sim rig and he's wasted his life kind of shot. So that's using a small rig actually to just clip it onto a doorknob. But it does the job. Like, small rig's incredible. And that's a Logitech C920 webcam. If you're just starting streaming or just want a webcam, Logitech C920, absolutely phenomenal webcam and perfectly fine for live streaming. You actually don't need anything better. I just waste my money on better equipment because it's like a disorder you have with cameras. You just keep buying more expensive camera equipment despite your quality still being terrible because you actually have no artistic skill at all. So you might as well just stick with the C920. Absolutely fantastic. Also, you can like plug 2 or 3 of these into a computer, and their newer software generally lets you do that with more ease. In fact, I'm probably going to add another one of these onto the rig for a pedal camera, again, as an advanced apology to Husingveld for me not yet doing a review when I really should have. There's the Husingveld logo. Highly recommend Husingveld pedals. I think they're going to drop a pedal plate on my head, and I would well deserve it. What else do we have here? Another power supply in a cable tidy box. These cable tidy boxes, again, totally awesome, really worth getting. You just put everything in there, and that's just for the Husingveld sign and some more power supplies. And I also use this too. Oh, there's the Elgato cam link on there. I use this to charge as a place for charging batteries as well, because it's in a nice open place so I don't forget that I've left my batteries charging. We have the PlayStation 5 here, which is used once every decade to play Gran Turismo and the occasional PlayStation 5 game. We have the remotes for the TV. Oh, here's a really nice camera lens. It's a Sigma prime wide angle lens, but this is a really nice lens if you wanted like a nice bit of bokeh behind you. But it turns out I'd have to have the camera too close to me to use that, so I'm just going to use this to photograph hot supermodels, obviously, in my spare time. In terms of filming the monitors, so this view, the view that we actually live stream from, we use another Sony a6000. I was using a Sony 6400, but I've literally just yesterday swapped it out. So I'm going to use this a6400 as my actual photography camera and video camera when I'm out and about. For webcams, there's no point in having anything better than the 6000 really, because it's on a tripod and it just, as I say, it goes through the Elgato 4K capture and kit lens. It just zooms in onto the monitors and we get 1080p 60 FPS. Unfortunately, 4K, the raw HDMI output on this is 24 hertz, 24 FPS, not even 30. You can record at 4K 30 on the 6400, but when you set it to NTSC mode, but yeah, for 1080p recording it looks great, and most streaming 1080p is fine. And that's the rear view. It's on a nice Velbon tripod. Again, really great. Velbon has a nice fluid ball head on it. You can position it, you can move it. Absolutely fantastic tripod, value for money. I've had no problems with them and they're really, really good. So there's a tripod recommendation if you wanted a cheap, good tripod. I also have another camera up here on another small rig, and this is actually plugged into this PC, which is another PC which is on the desk here, which I just use for, it's a separate desk computer for when I'm doing stuff at my desk. Ow, just banged my head on the ceiling. That's why I love being in a bunker. So really, that is the bulk of the setup. I didn't mention it until last because I thought I'd save it to last, but of course we are using the LG C1 OLED screens here, that 55-inch OLED screens, absolutely amazing, just fantastic. Don't get one. In fact, I do get one, but don't get three, I would say. 3 is insane, and triple screen's a bit weird, especially with these because they're all HDMI. I'll go into that actually, because I know some of you will want to know, and if you've got this far in the video, well, you probably don't have much of a life and you love this kind of weird stuff, so I'll go into it. So basically, they're HDMI screens, not DisplayPort. The problem with that is graphics cards typically only have 2 HDMI ports, and typically one of those HDMI ports isn't 2.1. Now, why is that relevant? Well, HDMI 2.1 is the only, I'm probably getting the numbers wrong here, but the current HDMI spec is the only one that's capable of doing G-Sync at 120 at 4K. So, in order for us to run this with G-Sync, because each of these screens have G-Sync, and I want to take advantage of that because G-Sync's amazing, what I've had to do is I have a Aorus, I think it's the Aorus Master 3080 Ti graphics card, which actually has 3 HDMI ports. Now, one of those HDMI ports on the Aorus Master is a 2.0 HDMI port, I think. Might be 2.0 or 1.4, or I don't know. It's one of the earlier HDMI ports, which means it can't do 4K 120, but it can do 2560 by 1440 120 G-Sync. So the end compromise that I ended up to get this all working with G-Sync and absolutely flawless, and I mean it's bloody crisp. It's like the image is incredible. It's so smooth as well. The end solution is that I run these 3 screens. They're 2560, 2560, 2560 by 1440. So what's that? 720 by 1440 or something thereabouts there. I run them at that. You have to use NVIDIA triple screen in order to get this to work, or I believe you do. And they all go into HDMI ports, and through some miracle, that allows us to get triple screen, G-Sync, totally smooth. And from the distance that I sit from the monitors, which is about 1 metre, which I find very comfortable, it looks totally sharp, it looks crisp, and generally we can have the settings on quite high in a lot of games, even new titles, and always hit between 80 to 120. Now if you're using G-Sync, you actually cap the frame rate, so you're always rolling in G-Sync, so you always get a perfectly smooth image. So basically the sweet spot is to always be hitting 117 FPS, for example, 118 FPS. If you go on Blur Busters, it'll explain all of this. If you drop below 70 FPS, you start losing that. Like G-Sync has a trouble being totally smooth. Like you'll notice a difference. But basically, with this setup, how we've got this here with 3080 Ti, I can't remember the processor I've got in the computer down there. But with this setup, with most titles on the market, Assetto Corsa, iRacing, ACC's a bit weird, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and you know, anything, pretty much anything, we're getting that absolutely silky pinpoint frame rate with these 3 OLED monitors and G-Sync. No tearing, no stutter. It's pure incredibleness. So that explains that monitor setup. What else do we have? What else do we have here? I do have some VR headsets, but I want to cover them in a separate video. I missed the handbrake on the rig. There's a handbrake. There's a Fanatec shifter. Really like the shifter. I'm not the biggest fan of the Fanatec handbrake. I think it could feel better, but the Fanatec shifter's great. But that's pretty much it, really. That largely explains the setup that we're using. Huge thanks to all the companies that have obviously worked with us in the past and present, and are regretting working with us to make all this possible. And a big thanks to those of you that watch the channel, who have, of course, over the years used our Fanatec affiliate links, the SimLab links that we've got, our Amazon affiliate links for buying stuff like cable tidies. Oh, I didn't cover the cable tidying. Why didn't I do that? Oh yes, because my cables are a mess and they need to be tidied. But you know, Amazon affiliate links for anything you buy on Amazon, if you click them, that supports the channel. Big thanks to everyone. But let me know in the comments what you'd like to know about anything, really. You know, deep philosophical questions. You can ask me, do I regret wasting my life living in a simulator? No, not really, actually. It's not a bad way to spend one's time, if we're honest. It's pretty good fun. But yeah, until the next video, guys, thank you very much for watching this, and happy tea drinking. Goodbye.